All right, the little whistly bell's going off. The spinny circle's happening. We are live with another Money Moves. Here it is Tuesday. And we've got I don't want to say it's an exciting topic, Wendy, but it's coming, right? Last week, we talked about, layoffs and things like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is Shark Week coming up? Because it seems to be this doom and gloom kind of thing.
I know. I was just going to say, we're kind of depressing right now. Sorry.
But we're giving you things to do that you can help. So this week, we're going to talk about something called stagflation, not inflation, stagflation. And though it sounds cool, it's not a bunch of guys getting together talking about inflation. It's actually something that happened in the United States in the 70s. And guess what? It's back. So a lot of different indicators are out there for 2023. So what is it? What is it all about? And how is it going to impact you? So reach out to your friends and say, hey, they're going to be talking in. You don't want to miss this Money Move show. And we'll get started here in just a few seconds. We are back, and I still love that. I still think of Gladiator every time that comes on. I know I'm goofy, but it is what it is. But we're winding down 2022. I can't believe we're already wrapping up 2022. This year went by so fast. So we'll have to come up with a new one for 2023. So, Wendy, have you heard of stagflation?
Only from you.
Okay. Well, for those of you that have not heard of, what's that?
I'd never heard it prior to that.
When were you born? What year?
80.
So that's why stagflation happened before you were born. It really hasn't been around since. But all the indicators out there. And if you don't believe me, go out to the worldwide Google and Google it for your facts and your reviews and research, right? But, a lot of different advisors and whatnot, advisory groups, think tanks are all looking to 2023 to be a year of stagflation. So it's like inflation on steroids. So what is stagflation? How is it going to impact you? And we've seen some of the indicators going on right now. The economy's been in kind of a little wobbly wheel over the last, few months, years, right? It's amazing. I've talked to some friends of mine at party. I don't know, Wendy, you can add your opinion in on this, right? In regards to what a different country we live in since 2020. In 2 years, how dramatically has the country changed in, 2.5 years or whatever the case may be?
We went from a thriving, amazing economy.
I was paying, $2 for gas. Food was not that big of a deal as far as prices and whatnot. The economy was just booming, right? And we had, everybody in the world was like, okay, America's got its A game back. Yeah, we ruffled some feathers a little bit, but that's okay. In my opinion, especially when all the other things on the home front were doing so great. But here we are, right? It's our reality now, and it kind of is what it is. Remember that in the next election. But let's get down to that granular level on what's going on in your household, what's going on in your world as you're watching this video. And you've probably noticed a lot of things happening. And I'm here to tell you, 2023 is not going to be the year everything bounces back. The Build Back Better isn't happening. So now we're looking at, what can we expect for 2023? So we've got a picture that I want to bring up talking about stagflation and what is it? Okay. So stagflation, if you've seen that movie, The Perfect Storm with Clooney, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that from an economic perspective. So you got all these different things happening, three main things, right? So, you look at the first one, that first column, economic growth, right? So in inflation, which is what everybody knows, typically your economic growth is still happening, right? It's going boom, boom. The inflation rate, the cost of goods is going up, and then unemployment is going down. That's why you've got a white hot economy and prices are going up. But in stagflation, what happens is a little bit of the opposite. So the economic growth actually slows down dramatically, but the inflation keeps going. So with economic growth slowing down, what does that mean to you? Well, that means people are buying fewer things. Right? What else does that mean to you? Well, because they're buying fewer things, fewer things are being made, less job, so unemployment starts to creep up as well. And with that happening, guess what? It also means that other things are, happening to impact you. So it's that, you've got economic growth is slowing down. That's stagflation number one. Stagflation number two is inflation is increasing. And we've already, peaked out at 8%. So guess what? We're not done yet. Yeah. And then number three, unemployment is going up, right? Unemployment is going up. So there's a lot of different factors there that are playing into this, and that's what everybody's predicting next year. So I don't know, Wendy, good thing, bad thing.
I'm thinking it's not the greatest, right? Yeah. But what I'm learning too from you is, right, these things happen in cycles. Yep. And so while it's going to be kind of a tough 2023, I think, for a lot of people, it's, it's what's necessary with the way that inflation has gone up and all those different things in order to get back to a more stable economy. We have to go through these cycles, right? And yeah, it's so I've been learning a lot more about like the history of money and how it works and understanding inflation. And one of the things here with the economic growth going down and the inflation still rising, like I hear people say, well, inflation's getting better, like it's not as high. But I'm like, if it's in the positive, we're still going, right? If it's 8%, 7%, 6%, that doesn't mean the cost of things are going down. They're still going up. They're just going up at a slower rate.
Inflation two years ago, 2 years and some change, was less than 2% and had been there for a while, right? So if it goes down from 8.9% to 7.9, excuse me for not getting excited about it.
Right. Exactly. Yep. And so, going back to like we were talking last week about jobs and stuff and that unemployment. But when inflation's at that 3% and also your salary increases are at 3%, but salaries can't keep up with the inflation. And then, like you said, the downturn of the economy, it's just, it's kind of the perfect storm for disaster, right?
Yeah. Well, not only that, you've got companies that are still out there, trying to, show the shareholders that they can turn a profit. So what are they doing? They're cutting costs. Mm-hmm. Large part of the costs are benefits, employees themselves, which we, had a conversation last week on Money Moves in regards to layoffs and the pending layoffs and all the layoffs that are happening. So it kind of feeds on itself, right? And then you've got the Fed. And I love that history of money. I think next week we'll talk about history of money and how the Fed really works and what the Fed is and isn't, because I think there's still a lot of misconception out there. So we'll do that maybe next week or the week after. But looking at what's going on in the economy and where it's happening, I mean, what we've seen to this point in 2022, it was a good year. A lot of people still grew. There was, but there's still a lot of government programs out there that are, just again, printing cash. And the more you print cash, the wobbly the wheels get on the economic wagon that, the U.S. is pulling behind. So in that thing, you've got to look at, okay, what does that mean to me as an individual? Well, costs are going to continue to rise. Your job security is probably going to decrease. And it may even result in a layoff for you. So it's, again, go back to last week's episode. If you missed last week's episode, make a point to watch that, because it talks about what to do to prepare your house for a financial storm, a layoff, things like that, and put those practices into play. But stagflation is coming, and it's a scary thing. But I wanted you, the viewer, to understand what it is. It's going to be a little shorter show today, but I wanted you to understand what exactly it is, what it isn't, and how it's going to impact you, because it's going to impact you on all fronts. The housing market's already started to slow down. Interest rates are on the rise. Costs are on the rise. So if you've been trying to sell a house, which unfortunately I'm in that situation, it's kind of slowed things down a little bit. But do what you can to kind of true everything up, to kind of shore up everything for that storm that's coming. And again, it's 2023, the year of stagflation. So Wendy, I don't know if you've got anything else you want to add to that.
Just, I mean, my biggest takeaway from all this stuff, because it has been kind of doom and gloom, right?
Yeah.
And people in my circles will get super, it's like they go one extreme or the other. They're like, I'm going to ignore it and put my head in the sand and pretend none of this is happening. Or I'm going to go so paranoid and like think the end of the world is coming, right? Yep. And I think like we just have to understand that this is the cycle of economy. And this is what happens when our dollars are just being printed. And with, can I just say, poor leadership. It's what happens.
Yeah, I don't think anybody will disagree there.
Yeah. And so it's time for us to wake up and take control. You got all kinds of noises today.
I know. Sorry.
But it's time for us to wake up and take control and start being super conscious of where we put our money.
Yeah.
I mean, what we do, what's important to us, right? And I get so frustrated. The more we talk to people about it's like, I love talking to people that are like, they understand, hey, it's time to get this right. And I get so frustrated with people that think they have all the time in the world to pull it together. And I was one of those people. I was.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, here you are. And you said something a little bit ago to our team, just about like, people protect their cell phones and protect their car and protect their house, but they're not protecting their own wealth and their own money. Yeah. And it's time to like wake up and take charge and start doing something. Yep. And I hate to say it, but sometimes when ish hits the fan is when people wake up and go, oh, I need to do something. So,
yep. Well, and unfortunately at that time, I don't want to say it's too late, but you're definitely way behind the 8 ball. And that's what I'm saying, look to figure out now what's going on. And I tell you what, you reach out to us, Wendy Lead online or Black Swan Money, or just, reach out to us at YouTube, johncleaver.com. I'm not hard to find. Right. And, mention the show. We'll give you a free financial plan, do something with it or not, but at least get some kind of input on what to do for what's coming up. Because if not, you're going to be standing outside holding your little metal umbrella and there's lightning bolts going all around you, and you think you're protecting, you're not. So that's what you got to look at is what's around the corner. Start surrounding yourself with, people that are doing better than you, so you can kind of hear what's going on. That's what I did. I started hanging out with people that are making 7 figures plus, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. Never thought of this. Never thought of that. And so this stuff, this wealth building is a lot easier than it seems. It's just, you're not being exposed to it. So that's why hopefully you're watching this show and surrounding yourself with other people, reading books, things like that. But, stagflation and what's happening is going to impact you. Period. And if you don't believe me, ask your parents or grandparents who lived through it during the 70s, because that's when it was last year in the United States, and how tough it was. Gasoline lines, things like that. And we got through it, and we'll get through this one again. But depending on where you're at in your growth cycle, as far as your accumulation of wealth cycle for your own retirement, it's going to have a major impact for you and can change what that looks like dramatically. So don't wait to the last minute. Put your head out of the sand and take action. So that's all we've got for today, folks. So again, we're here every Tuesday, Money Moves. We'd love to hear from you and your comments below. Please put that below. And while you're down there, go ahead and click that little like button, subscribe, show us some love, share the video with your friends. We're here every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific. And we'll be here next week with Money Moves. Thanks, Wendy. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, John. Bye, y'all.